Hey guys, welcome to RadDads. I'm Will.
I'm Greg.
And thank you for joining us on our weekly show where we catch up with influential dads and dads in general to talk about fatherhood, the ups, the downs, and the stuff in between, eh Greg?
Don't forget the roundabouts.
That's true. Today we're stepping it up a little bit. We're only going after the leader of our country, but not to talk politics. We're talking about fatherhood, we're talking about nappies, we're talking about life lessons. Our mate Bill sits down with us to chat about what it's like to be a dad. Check out our episode. Thank you again for joining us. Prime Minister, thank you so much for joining us on RadDads. Permission to speak dad to dad?
Yeah, that's just fine.
Hat goes on, belts are loosened. Bill, how are you? Thank you very much for joining us.
Good to see you, Will.
Thank you, sir.
Hey, Greg.
Okay, well, I mean, is this common for you to really be approached by a couple dads to sit in a warehouse and talk about fatherhood? Is this like on the agenda for our Prime Minister?
No, this is a unique opportunity, I have to say.
Yeah, for us too.
Yeah.
I mean,
most people don't think of the Prime Minister as a dad.
I think it's important that people remember that you also change nappies.
I did for about 15 years. I am really good at it.
That's awesome.
And that's before we had these plastic things.
Yeah.
Safety pins. You know what a safety pin?
Yeah, well, yes, I do. I've never tried them. So you tried the safety pin, or did you get good
That's
at that?
right. We used them for years. Yeah.
The question I have to ask is, did you time it? Did you get a bit of a pit stop thing happening and try and better your time that you did previously?
Well, actually, the time was more on the folding of them, because when you don't have the plastic nappies, you have to fold the cloth nappies.
Oh, right,
and
right.
And at different stages, the folding changes.
Okay.
And you need a stack like this.
Oh, right,
you know,
right.
When you've got a couple of kids in nappies.
Yeah, so it's quite a big stack.
I was fast.
Bill, me and Greg often talk about this idea that today both parents are extremely busy, and part of that is good. We're out there building careers, but there is a second life for us at home, and we were interested to pick your brains about how you have managed that. There's a lot of hours you put in. Is that something you are super aware of?
Yes, it is. And look, our life is no different than everyone else's. It's just that when I'm working, it's a bit more public. Right. But there's plenty of people who work at least the hours we do, mums and dads. Yeah. I've always felt it's something I should think about every day. Not have periods where you're buried in your work and then think, I'll go to the family. But at least in my job, I can make some choices. Yeah. Some people can't. I can say no to things because I need to be home. Yeah. And just one little example is I've always gone home for tea time from the beehive, never eaten in the beehive. Yeah. It means I don't do much of the cocktail stuff, or I don't get quite the same time with my colleagues in that relaxed way, but I want to be home.
Yeah, well, and it's fantastic that you say that, because if people don't say it, it's like most things. It's up for interpretation and imagination. And the fact that, those new dads coming through, including me and Greg, I don't know how many nights I've eaten at work because you're trying to progress your career. And it is really nice to hear that, even our leaders do think that.
Well, and it's important, I think, that the household feels that you can still make that choice when you really have to. Your wife or your children can be quite understanding, but in the end, they need to know ultimately they're the most important people.
One of the core fundamentals of why we've kicked off RadDads is this acknowledgement that the role of the father has changed a little bit, and I think as things have progressed and society's changed and what have you, there's a few different kind of expectations on dads these days. I guess, what are some of your thoughts around what the challenges are for dads?
The basic understanding is not about you. I think that there was a time in the past where dads could sort of be about being a dad, or about being the father, and leave, and a lot of the household stuff was handled by the mothers. But of course, the mothers now work so hard. I mean, when I'm sitting in meetings every now and again, I think a number of these women would have got up at 5 o'clock this morning, made the school lunches, got the youngest one off to childcare before they got to work by 8:30 for the meeting with me.
Sure, so true.
And the day, they're already been doing a lot of work. So, it's just but the same with dads. You can't just assume now about how dads live, that they get an easy time, or that when they go home they do nothing, because often they're on something of the same routine. And I always felt, particularly in my line of work, I get treated with respect and a bit of deference, that when I'm home, it's not like that. It's not about me. It's about this household and what I can do to support them and help and fulfil my role there, because they have some expectations of me there too. So we had a rule for a long time: no politics at home.
Love it.
So when I come in the door, I'm not on the phone.
Yeah.
Not talking about stuff that doesn't matter to the 3-year-old,
Yeah.
and actually just cleaning up, getting the dishes done, getting the kids to bed, getting ready for tomorrow.
And how easy was that rule to keep?
Oh, actually not that difficult, partly because of the determination of my lovely spouse Mary to make sure that we stuck to it, and partly because I enjoyed the work of being busy in a family.
Yeah.
It's in some ways straightforward. You just got to do the things that need to be done and love the kids, and they're so rewarding.
We do talk about children, but we like to talk about dads in general, and me and Greg and our friends laugh about our old men, because they were unique critters. You know, they did things with us that maybe taught us lessons in life, but would maybe be frowned upon. Like, my old man had this classic thing where we went through McDonald's drive-through, and he didn't understand the 2-window system. He taught me the value of giving money and receiving something. So his Big Mac, I was 11-year-old looking forward to it, and then, he'd give the money and he said, "Where's the food?" And I was like, "Dad, you go to the next window." "No, son. If you give money, you get something in return." So, the poor McDonald's person walked down to the next window and came back. I mean, are there those stories for you with your old man?
Well, see, my old man was an old man, so I'm the 10th of 12, and I can only ever remember him as like in his mid-50s. He'd be 101 if he was alive today.
Oh, wow.
Gotcha.
He probably went away, but the other way of the modern parent, and that is kids can do anything if you just dump them in it. So, and he had a very strong work ethic. So as kids, we worked from the time we could, hand milk cows from the age of 6. But he'd just say, there's the tractor, and go and plough the paddock. And I think, right. So one of the problems was he learnt to do a lot of things not very well. Like, he wasn't a perfectionist. I think that was the thing I learnt from him. He was much more interested in creating a sense of adventure with the kids. Although I'm not sure that's how he'd say it. He'd just say, "Well, you look useful, go and do something." Than he was in everything being done right. Yeah. And I'm grateful for that.
Yeah.
If you could say one thing to those new dads today, or one piece of advice, one sort of takeaway, what would it be?
I think it would be just keep that moment. You get to hold the baby, and the mother's there, and it's an experience you can't prepare for, really. And there's going to be so many times when this looks hard, and keep that moment.
Yeah. Prime Minister, when you have time on your own and you feel like chilling out, are there things you'd like to do just to relax? If we're not seeing you in the public eye, running our country, what do you like to do? Xbox, PlayStation?
Well, actually, one of the things I do is talk to my kids, because they're older. And the benefit of social media is you can, and you can create your own little group. It's great to be able to communicate with them in ways that you couldn't just, 10, 15 years ago. So I actually spend quite a lot of time chatting to them.
That's cool. But we're having a laugh about protecting your children, and as a dad, there's so many things you can do. You can lock the door at night, you can probably stay up a bit later. You have your it's not Secret Service, what are they?
DPS, Diplomatic Protection Squad.
And they cruise around with you. How do we book them out when you're not using them for other dads? Can we run a raffle?
Well, actually, it makes you understand what it's like for an overprotected child.
Yeah. Well, that's an interesting way of putting it.
Too much supervision.
No,
Can't do
you
things.
Guys. Just jokes, by the way.
No, look, there's so many fantastic fathers out there who do a great job with their kids. And actually, in a way, in public life, we're fortunate because we get some recognition. You come and ask me about, the balance. There's lots of people there who don't have any public profile, whatever. And the great thing about this is it recognises what they're doing, because it's the same thing. The same sort of trade-offs, and it doesn't matter if they're making coffee in a cafe or Prime Minister, they've still got to get it all to add up in a family. And I just want to recognise all those dads.
That's awesome. And what a fantastic way to finish. I think a couple of things I'm taking away. One, we got to sit down with our Prime Minister and talk about fathers and no politics, and I'm thumbs up to that, because life has its own politics with your own inner circle of family and
That's
kids,
right.
and
Yeah.
those are things that no leader can help you with. Unfortunately,
You can't vote your way out of it. You've got to face the consequences.
Bill, on behalf of RadDads and the dads out there and in this room, we thank you, sir.
Thanks, Phil.
Very cool.
Thanks so much, Greg.